Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I'm back with another speed build, and this is going to be a fairly spacious family home that's a little bit on the messy or cluttered side. Obviously inspired by the latest kits for The Sims 4, the Restoration Workshop kit and the Kitchen Clutter kit. I just really wanted to build something super cluttered and messy, and I feel like these Sims are probably in need for some spring cleaning. It's that time of year. I know I personally have been trying to declutter, and it's a really common thing to do this time of year, so I thought this would be a perfect idea to do for the new kits and for the spring season. So I really hope you will enjoy this one. If you do and you'd like to download it, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. So with spring being the season of new beginnings and spring cleaning, I'm so excited to share that ThredUp is sponsoring today's video. ThredUp is an online thrift store that allows you to shop secondhand from anywhere. I recently picked up a few new pieces for this upcoming season, which I cannot wait to show you. But first, I want to get some clothes packed up for my own spring cleaning. You can request a clean out kit or print a free shipping label directly on ThredUp's website. The clean out kit is shipped in this small envelope, and inside you'll find a bag to ship your items in. It's pretty big. Then just collect your lightly used clean items and pack them. Just drop off at UPS free of charge, and you're cleaning out your closet and earning cash or ThredUp credit as items sell. There are always new items being added to the site, so I had to take a look, and I found some really cute pieces at such affordable prices. My whole outfit today is from ThredUp. The top I'm wearing is originally from Boohoo. I only paid $21 for it, but the estimated retail is $48. And my jeans are from Torrid, originally priced at $102, but I only paid $31. I'm also attending a wedding next month and have been looking for a dress, and ThredUp made it so easy to search for. You can filter by size, color, style, and more. I ended up finding this gorgeous floral dress. It's originally from Torrid with an estimated retail of $102, but I only paid $39. I also grabbed some cute flats to pair with the dress from Bandolino for $24. And they're originally priced at $64. And I grabbed a cute Kate Spade wallet. A designer piece originally priced at $139, and I only paid $35. I have found such amazing pieces on ThredUp, and I really think you're gonna love it too. And if you like what I found, I have a link in the description so you can shop my favorites. So if you're interested in shopping on ThredUp for yourself, they are offering a huge additional discount. If you use code Gryphi50, you'll get an additional 50% off your first order plus free shipping. And that's on top of their already amazing low prices. So click the link below to shop my ThredUp favorites at a fraction of their original prices, or order your first clean out kit to kickstart that spring cleaning. Thank you again to ThredUp for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it. So the shape of the build has pretty much come together now. I really wanted to build something where the garage was a huge portion of the front of the house, which is something I typically avoid as we don't have cars in the game and we didn't have a lot of garage items. But now with the Restoration Workshop kit, I felt like I just really wanted to build something with a garage. So I was excited. I feel like it's going to open some more possibilities now that we have some more items to put in our garages. Also, I'm building this in the world of Del Sol Valley, which is a world I almost never build in, especially because the lots in this area are so big. But I do really like the lot that I'm building on. This is called Inner Circle. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac, and I just thought it was perfect for the family home I had in mind. A home at the end of the street that has a lot of excess clutter, and I also, a little bit later on, you'll see, end up putting some piles of boxes and trash and stuff outside that I was imagining they were piling up to go into a truck to be disposed of or donated. A variety of different locations. Probably gonna take a trip to the dump or Goodwill or something like that. So you'll see that a little bit later. I do jump around the build a little bit because I got ideas as I was working on it on how I wanted to clutter up certain spaces. And I also started on this build before I got the new kits. I started a couple of days before. So you won't see any of that stuff until I start working on the kitchen, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, this does end up being a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with a garage, a pool, and an office space. So it's a pretty spacious home, and it's a little bit pricey, but I don't think it's that pricey for the size it is. It comes out to be 115,200 simoleons, so it's not horrible, but definitely not a budget home. The siding I ended up using on the outside of the build is from Seasons, and I knew immediately that I wanted to have a basketball hoop outside. I don't know what it is about The Sims and family homes, but I always love putting a basketball hoop above the garage garage. I never had one growing up like that, but it is something I think of when I think of creating family homes in The Sims. I also made sure to get a hopscotch out front as well as a swing set. And out back, there's going to be a tree house a little bit later on as well, which is an item that we got from growing together. And I felt like it fit decently well in this world. It's not the same kind of trees you see here, but the World of Del Sol Valley and San Sequoia are both based on California, so I thought it was okay. And also, it's the only type of tree we have that has the treehouse item. So if you want to use a treehouse, you're kind of stuck with that unless you want to build your own and it doesn't have the same functionality. It would just be like a room up in a tree, which I have done in the past and it's kind of fun. So I don't know if I'll do that again at some point since we do have the functional item now, but just thought I'd mention it. Working on the floor plan now and extending the upstairs to have that same bump out in the back as it does in the front. And realizing I'm going to have enough room for 4 bedrooms up here. I also have an ensuite for the primary as well as a hall bathroom for the kids. And then downstairs there is another bathroom as well. And I'm just placing beds down in some of the rooms to be like, oh, I think this is what these rooms are going to be. I do change it around a little bit based on who I think is going to be living here. I was trying to come up with a concept in my mind of how I wanted to tackle the idea of this cluttered family home. And I decided it was going to be 2 parents who have 4 kids, one that has moved out and their room has since become kind of like the space they just throw all their junk. So it's very messy. It has some of the kids' old items, lots of boxes and stuff, and it's in desperate need of some spring cleaning. And a lot of the rest of the house just has stuff cluttered around because there's a lot of kids in the house and they are just overall trying to go through and declutter. So there are some boxes and stuff around as well, but a lot of it is in that one room and there's definitely some in the garage as well. Just going through and adding some doors to the various rooms, the back porch, and adding some more windows. I also grabbed some half walls to put out front on the porch just to make it feel a little bit more closed in, but I didn't really feel like a fence would look right with this style of home. It's definitely craftsman inspired. That was the idea behind it. I just thought it fit nicely here and it worked very well for that whole prominent garage idea in the front of the house. And then the yard is like a back/side yard. There is going to be a pool back there later, but I did want to have a sidewalk that led you over there. And then I picked out actually a dark wood flooring, which is something I've been doing a lot lately in my homes. I feel like I'm on a dark wood kick, either that or like an orangey wood. Those are the 2 that I really enjoy lately. So that did not stop here. And then I am trying out so many different couches because I really kind of wanted to use the Parenthood one, because it used to be my go-to family house couch, but I didn't end up using it here. I actually ended up using this one from high school years that has a like pretty colorful plaid on it. And I also paired it with a more modern love seat from the Book Nook kit and a really pretty blue rug. I love mixing furniture like this. I think it ends up just looking so cozy and lived in. And that was the entire idea behind this build. So having fun picking out some bookcases and the TV stand, and I also ended up using this really massive coffee table from Parenthood. I don't get the chance to use this one too often, but I thought it worked so nicely in this space. I really enjoy using the bigger coffee tables in family spaces like this so that there's lots of room for like kids' activities, games, art, all of that. So I do place down some arts and crafts as well as some board games. And then I also got to use one of my favorite doll houses in the game, which is actually from the Little Campers kit. And it just looks like the kids grabbed some random items from around the house and piled them up to turn it into a dollhouse. There's like a sheet, some pots and pans, cardboard, all sorts of stuff, and I love it. It's got to be my favorite, and it worked so nicely for this build. Also on top of the fireplace, I have some more like puzzles and stuff, some random toys and clutter, some paintings leaning up there, and I also forgot we had that like blanket shelf hook stand, blanket stand I think is what that's called, blanket ladder maybe, from Base Game that was in a holiday update I'm pretty sure last year. So I put that on the other side of the room, and then I am cluttering up this area with some toys and books and dirty mugs. I put so much random stuff on this little table, including a bottle of glue, because I just feel like that makes sense for a family with a bunch of kids. And then over on this side, this is where I end up putting the blanket ladder or rack. And I also have the parenting board so you can set curfews and some more decorations that give you the idea that it's a space for the kids' things, as well as a little like art table for the kids so they can do arts and crafts. And one of their drawings is hung up right above that as well. So I want to talk a little bit more about the family I had in mind. I sort of talked about there being one kid that moved out and a total of 4 kids. And you could have any family you want living here if you decide to play in this house for yourself. But I did kind of have a specific idea in mind, which was that the oldest child was a son who moved out, who was really into science and space and is really close with the youngest child, who is a little girl who also loves space. So you're going to see that theme in both the somewhat empty bedroom that is super cluttered up, as well as the youngest kid's room. And then the other 2 kids are twins who are super into sports. You'll see more about that when we get to their rooms, but I did want to mention it as it was an idea that was in my head while I was decorating the rest of the house. So you might see things that lean towards those themes in a couple of different spaces. But we are finally starting to work on the kitchen now, which means it's time to use some of the new kit items. I know I've done a few builds on the channel already with them, but I am loving them so much. So I'm just excited to talk about them and see them in use. This house doesn't have a separate dining room, so I do have a table in the kitchen. Right now it only has 4 chairs at it, but I will be adding a 5th, which is the exact amount you would need for the Sims in this household currently, since one of them did move out. And you can see that I placed down the new sink and the new fridge from the kitchen clutter kit. And then I am starting to clutter up the counters, getting some spices, as well as a dish rack and a bunch of other items, the cereal boxes, the lunchbox, just as many things as I can that I feel like fit in the space. So I'm grabbing things out and then deciding if they make sense here or not. I love the basket of fruit that hangs on the wall. I think it is so cute. I mentioned in my overview of this kit that it reminds me of my great grandmother because she had one in her kitchen when I was growing up, and I'm pretty sure I own that now. I just don't currently have a space to put it. So it is in a box in my storage. So hopefully in a future place I can hang that up, and it's kind of fun that The Sims reminded me of that. I also cluttered up the top of the fridge with some plates and like spices and stuff like that. And then over here I have a cookie jar and some other jars, and there's also my favorite cutting boards, which are not from the kitchen clutter kit. They're actually from the Cool Kitchen stuff pack, which is a really old stuff pack at this point, but I love for a couple of the items, and I do end up using the shelves that came from that stuff pack in this kitchen as well. They're going to be above the table. But first I'm grabbing a curtain to be on the window, and I love this grocery bag. I just think it is so cool. So that ends up being in here, and I ended up actually moving the like cleaning caddy, the like container that has some cleaning supplies in it, into the garage. I feel like that's going to work really nicely in there, and there ends up being a washer and dryer in there, so that's where that ends up being. That shelf on the wall here is the one that I had mentioned from the Cool Kitchen stuff pack. I keep wanting to call it a kit. And then I'm just placing down a rug in here as well, which I believe is from the Comfy Gamer kit. There's too many kits at this point that it's kind of hard to keep them straight. So I know at some point I'm going to be saying, oh, it's from this place, and it's not. That's just bound to happen at this point. But anyway, we are moving on into the garage and picking out our wallpaper. I knew I wanted to use one of the new ones from the restoration workshop kit in here, as they are exactly what every garage I've ever seen looks like. So I wanted to put that up here. I also got the new electric box and water heater, plus the new woodworking table and some of the decorative surfaces, and the shelf on the wall that has all the tools hung up I think is so perfect. And then over here is the laundry, and I also have some like fishing stuff hung up on the walls. There ends up being a lot of random clutter in this garage, but it all feels correct for this sort of space, and I had a lot of fun decorating it. I love spaces like this. I've talked about this a lot on the channel, but I love cluttered spaces, messy, things full of junk. So like garages, attics, basements, they're so fun. I've built some junkyards and thrift stores and things like that. I just have a blast with them, so I've loved this build. And another pack that actually came in quite handy for this build in this space was the basement treasures kit, as it's got some like rundown old items that maybe these Sims could be getting rid of, or maybe they're just being stored in the garage. So I have some boxes in here from there. I also have like, it kind of looks like luggage over in the corner that they can wheel out of the space. And I believe I got some old board games in here, just like a ton of different things. And some of it's throughout the rest of the house as well. Like there's some trophies from the basement treasures kit that I'm pretty sure are in the primary bedroom. It was just really fun imagining the things that this family has collected over the years or accumulated over the years. And I think it's really realistic that you just end up having all this stuff and you don't know what to do with it. At least that's my lived experience. Let me know if your home is like that as well. I don't have a house, but I do live in an apartment, and I feel like I've outgrown it in the years I've been here. I just don't know if getting a house is feasible anytime soon with how expensive things are nowadays. I don't know if I'll be able to afford a house like ever. So, you know, this felt very relatable about having too much stuff and nowhere to put it, especially because I have 4 pets. Anyway, working on the hallway now, I just have a runner rug here, some plants, and a place to put some family photos, as I imagine this family probably has those proudly on display. There's also a coat rack over by the front door, which we only have a couple of these in the game. I really hope we get more in the future. I feel like it's a strange item that we don't have more of. I believe there's only 2 that are this style, where it's like a piece of furniture with hooks to hang up coats on, and then there is one that hangs on the wall that you can hang like 1 coat and 1 hat on, and then there's the standing coat rack from base game that has 2 coats on it. I want more of both styles, honestly. I think it would be really useful for pretty much any interior because everyone has a place that they put their coats. Yes, it could be the hall closet, but it could also be a coat rack or a dedicated like mudroom space. It would also probably be nice to have the chair, like the chair you throw the coats on, or the somewhat worn clothes on that are not dirty enough to go in the wash yet, but are not clean enough to hang back up. I would like them to add that chair to the game as well. That would be really nice. I feel like I'm just always coming up with ideas of things that I want added to the game, but I don't know how feasible some of them are. I don't know how realistic it is that those are going to be the things that are added. I keep going on little tangents and getting off topic today. I guess I'm just really in the mood to talk about what I want to see in The Sims in the future. But anyway, we have moved on to the downstairs office. In here, I just have a desk with a computer. There are some like diplomas and stuff on the wall. And I also have a couple of bookcases, which I'll add a little bit of clutter to, and the corkboard over in the corner, which I don't actually think I added any postcards to. I usually do, but I think that's why I didn't this time. I thought it would just be a nice change to have you be able to add those on your own through gameplay. Although I guess it defeats the purpose of the cluttered idea of this build. But the room still has plenty of clutter in it. I have stuff all over the desk, and I put some items in the bookshelves. And then in here, I also end up having a keyboard and I believe just like a chair over in the corner. It's a pretty simple room, but I wanted to have some other activities in here, and I don't use the keyboard item very often. Anyway, moving on into the bathrooms, I show most of the process of these, I'm fairly certain, but the downstairs one is a full bathroom. It was big enough too, so I figured why not have an extra shower tub combo in here for your Sims to use. I think the bathrooms upstairs are actually just showers, so this is the only tub in the house, so if you decide to have any pets, this would be really helpful for bathing your dogs, or if you do end up having a family that has a younger child, this is a good spot for the toddlers and the infants to get a bath as well. Can you bathe cats in The Sims? I feel like probably not, because for the most part they keep themselves clean, you don't need to bathe them, but that's kind of sad to think about, because I have had to give a cat a bath before when they got into some like really messy stuff, and it's so sad, they get so upset. But then again, some cats, it's very rare, but some cats do really like water and like want to be in the bath or want to go swimming, and that'd be a really cute thing to see in the game. Anyway, just decorating the counters here. I got some of the new waffle towels that came with the sleek bathroom kit and some other clutter from that one as well in here, and it's just like very blue and green. Pretty simple bathroom. This one is the ensuite, and then the one next door is the hall bath for the kids. So I added the plastic organizer with a bunch of hair accessories in here, and I just tried to make this one feel a little bit more youthful. So the plant in here actually has little feet, which is so cute. I also have a really pretty portrait up above the toilet, and I ended up hanging up some really colorful towels in here as well, which I thought was a bit of fun. But that's pretty much it for the bathrooms, just getting some bath mats in here, and then we should be moving on to the hallway and then the first bedroom. The hallway's pretty simple. I just have some clutter on a table here, and then I believe there ends up being some boxes as I was starting to think about how I wanted to decorate the room that had the oldest child that has moved out. So just placing down this side table from Cottage Living, I got some pretty artwork up above it, and then this same lamp I've used a couple of places in the house. I also grabbed 2 of the little bookcase items from Tiny Living and merged them together to add some more book clutter up on here. And I really like the vase I chose as well. I thought it was really cute. On this wall, I added a mirror because it felt like something was missing, and a little plant for the corner. And then I thought I was going to put a box here. I do end up moving that, as I put an old recliner over in this corner instead, which I thought was so cute. I ended up putting the boxes over in this corner instead, since it is right next to the room that's going to be full of them. And then I am just figuring out what else I want to put over here, and I ended up grabbing a little doll that I put in the chair. I guess it's a little stuffed animal. It's a little raccoon. I thought it was adorable, And there's a backpack out here as well, and a place for some more family photos, as well as a sconce. And then I'm grabbing some of these other boxes, which are actually from Eco Lifestyle. So I end up using a combination of the Eco Lifestyle ones and these ones from the Basement Treasures kit. And I believe I also got some from Get to Work that are like file storage boxes. So you'll see that in this bedroom, but I'm moving boxes around now. I also shoved the bed over in the corner, and I'm changing the swatch of that. There's going to be posters up on the walls, which is really fun. I imagine they probably didn't take those down to go to their next space, since a lot of them I felt like were more focused on their interests in college. And so there ends up being like the periodic table and stuff on the walls, which I don't know. I feel like that's not something you're going to rip off the wall and bring to your first apartment with you. There's some like folded up space posters, and I used this clothing rack from Get Famous that technically is like costumes. But to me, it just looked like packaged up old clothes that they never brought with them or they haven't made a decision on yet. I also have an old desk in here that I'm going to put some boxes on and an old TV. And then I thought maybe that one of the parents comes in here to do some yoga now since it's the spare room. So even though this room is full of boxes, there is a yoga mat in the middle of the room, which I thought was really cute. And then I'm just getting some more posters around here, and I will be using the tool mod on them in a little bit to make them a little bit less perfectly straight. I like the idea of just things kind of tacked up on the wall, kind of haphazardly. And I also grabbed a cobweb to put in that room as well, or a spider web. It could be either. And then we're moving on to the twins room, which is super sports themed, even to the point where they have the logo for the high school. I was thinking that these kids are either about to enter high school or are currently in high school, but sort of like that teen tween age. And I don't know if I've ever used this swatch of the beds from high school years that has the like llama logo on it. So I thought it was really fun. And I immediately knew I wanted the wallpaper from Parenthood that has all of the different sports balls on it. I was kind of imagining one of them was more into soccer and the other one was more into basketball, but it could be either or both. There's also a football in this room, and I just overall liked the idea that these Sims were super into a variety of sports and they're trying to decide which one is more important to them to go ahead and pursue in high school and maybe college if they go on to college sports as well. We actually have quite a few sports in the game now, and especially like sport related items. So it's really easy to decorate rooms for a Sim who enjoys sports. So this one came together pretty easily. I also really love that little photo from Base Game that has a sports team on it. I have that down in the living room as well. But anyway, moving on to our final bedroom, or our final kid's bedroom, I should say. And this is for the youngest child who is really into space and void critters. And so I really wanted that to come across in the room. I love the sort of like teal and black color scheme I went for in here. Inspired by the bed from Seasons, but it also matched beautifully with the dresser and bedside table from the Parenthood game pack. And I ended up getting a bunch of like school projects in here from Parenthood as well, of like robots and the solar system. I got some fun posters of aliens. There's a moon up above the bed. It was just a really fun room to work on. I even got to use the rocket ship lamp next to the bed, which is one I almost never use. I want to say that's from the kids room stuff pack, but I might be wrong. But I used a lot of the school projects in here. I also grabbed a Void Critter backpack and a poster up above where the bed is. Just filtering by that one now. That's also from the kids room stuff pack, which is, I think, where Void Critters originated in this game. But there's a lot of Void Critter items now from a variety of packs. I even put some of the Void Critter cereal boxes in here from the latest kitchen clutter kit. I just thought it was cute that maybe they snuck that up here and were snacking on it while they were working on homework or something. There's some clutter on the floor, and then I did add some art on the wall as well that is space themed, and there's another art table in here. Oh, and this big cardboard piece from Growing Together, it's just decorative, but it looks like the Sim made like a project of a spaceship out of cardboard, and I just love the idea of that. So very happy with the addition of that item. I do wish it was functional as like, I don't know, some sort of toy, maybe like how Blurfies work or one of the doll houses, I'm not sure, but it's just decorative. Anyway, we are working on the final bedroom for real this time. This is the primary bedroom, and it's a lot simpler than the other rooms. I used a lot of the same colors the rest of the house has, and I do add a decent amount of clutter in here, but it's a pretty simple room. I am using the bed from Businesses and Hobbies, I'm pretty sure, and a really pretty blue rug. I also found this pillow that I decided I really wanted to use in the space room that we just finished from Little Campers, so I just quickly popped that in there, and then I'm grabbing so much clutter to put on the bedside tables. Like I had mentioned, I have these trophies. There's like an old coffee mug, some receipts, magazines, like a box of stuff on the floor of like mail they never went through, and I believe I ended up using that in the entryway as well. And then the other side of the bed is a little bit less cluttered, but I still have plenty of stuff over here like books and old knickknacks. There's a little plant. I just really wanted the room to feel like it was lived in, and there was plenty of stuff that had been accumulated over time. And actually I think after I finish the outside, I come back in and add a cardboard box at the end of the bed of stuff that they are decluttering. But over here on the dresser, I do end up having some more magazines as well as a jewelry box and a clock. I also grabbed a gorgeous full-length mirror that is over by the door. That one is from the basement clutter kit or the basement treasures kit as well. But yeah, just finishing up the clutter on this dresser. I think it's pretty realistic for the items you might put there, but let me know if these are the kind of things that you have on your dresser or you would have put here. I always struggle with what to put on bedside tables and dressers, and it looks like I added that box now, the cardboard box, and a little tapestry on the wall as well. And then in the garage, I actually ended up grabbing one of the school projects for your Sims to actually work on. I know I have some completed ones in one of the kids' rooms, but I wanted to have one that your Sims could work on. And then there is the treehouse out in the backyard. And then I am starting to work on some more landscaping, getting some low-lying bushes and lots of yellow flowers, which I thought were so pretty. Those ones are from Debug from... I think those are from Growing Together. I thought that they looked really pretty here. I also added an additional fence piece on one side of the lot to kind of mimic what was on the lot next to it. There's a bike out front, and I also grabbed this like sort of moving truck. I was imagining that they might have rented some sort of truck to bring a bunch of stuff to Goodwill or to like the dump. So I put that out on the road using the tool mod. And then there's a pile of boxes and like an old dresser and oven door and trash bags and stuff. I just had a lot of fun coming up with what to put out here that they'd be bringing out. And then I'm just adding some overgrown grass around the lot. I think this adds a lot of texture. And then actually over here, I ended up putting an old camper. I put a Airstream, which I thought was really fun. They probably have that full of all kinds of stuff as well. It looks like it's been sitting there for a while with how much greenery is around it. So they probably also need to declutter that. That'd probably be a good idea. Anyway, in the backyard, this is where the pool is going to go, and it ends up being a rounded pool. I think it looks really cute, but I do actually end up putting some dirty water in it, so it looks like it's been sitting for a while. Nobody's cleaned it. It's, a little bit neglected, so they probably need to go through and fix that up. But I did add a floaty in here that is a slice of pizza, which is really fun, and a couple of colorful chairs to lounge on in the backyard, and then just adding some more greenery, finishing up the landscaping, and that should be pretty much it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give the video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And thank you to my YouTube members for all of your support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. And another massive thank you to ThreadUp for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to click that link in my description to get an additional 50% off your first order plus free shipping. Enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye everyone.